Hello, my name is Ruby and welcome back to the Fifth Wall podcast. This week I spoke to guest Kim Brown about career and production management. If you'd like to stay up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on social media at Fifth Wall Pod or subscribe wherever you're listening to get the latest episodes directly to your feed. Thanks for listening. So, how would you describe your job?
So my job, I work in production management. I'm a production management assistant. I am currently working on Morning Live. The way that production management was initially described to me when I first got into it, someone described it as when you're in production management, you're like the heart of a production because you basically look after everything. So you're looking after the budgeting, the scheduling, everyone's health and safety, looking after the crew, making sure everyone has what they need to do a show. You're stretched. You've got just many hats. And when someone told me that, I was like, that's the department that I want to work in because every day is completely different. It's really exciting. And then at Morning Live in particular, we're making live TV every day. So you're like looking after all of the talent that's coming in every day. You're looking after the demos. So we have cooking, DIY, cleaning, just every life skill on Morning Live. I've learned so much since I've been there, yes, that's what drew me into it initially.
So how did you start working in production management?
So I'm quite different. I used to work with animals, and I worked with animals for a long time, for about 10 years, and I fancied a change. And TV initially wasn't even like on my horizon. I was just thinking of doing something different and thought, I'll try in TV. Didn't realise how hard it was going to be to get in. It's so difficult. I spent it was 7 months exactly before I got my first TV job. Just contacting every production company I knew in the north, going to lots of different networking events. And then I got talking to someone at like an entry-level networking event about being an extra. I thought, that's a good way of starting out and just seeing what working in TV is like without the stress of having to do anything. So I became an SA first, a background artist. Did a couple jobs doing that, then luckily got my first runner gig because they were wanting a runner in Wigan, and I was like, I live in Wigan, and I joined. I became a runner for that job, and then starting in production management, it was just look. I knew that was kind of the direction that I wanted to go into. And I got talking to some people and I run a job. And then luckily they put me forward for a PMA role.
Sort of working as a background extra, something you'd recommend for people?
Definitely. I think it depends what area you're wanting to go into as well. But I loved it. It was great to turn up on set. I think especially going to set your first time, it's just such like a magical experience. I know it sounds really cheesy, but it is. It's really exciting. We'd park at the car park the first day. I still have it like my first day as an extra in my head. Yeah, parked up on the first day, got into a minibus, and then we'd go to the production village, see all of the caravans everywhere. It was just a nice way of taking everything in. And you're right in the heart of it as well, because you're on set within all of the action. You're with the actors, you're seeing where the director's filming, and just seeing every different department, and you can kind of just sit back and just watch and take it all in. So I loved it. And plus you get to do some really fun things. Got to wear some really good costumes. I was, in a period drama one day, being a nurse the next day. I would recommend it. There's loads of casting agencies. It was just a really, really fun, flexible job to have as well. That and being a runner They're the best ways to get in.
I recommend people sort of start out in that, because a lot of people say to do a uni degree, but that can be quite expensive, or there's sort of apprenticeships coming up, but it can be quite confusing as to what's the best way for people to sort of start out sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like there's, like you said, there's so many options now, isn't there? And it is just finding what's best for you. I loved going to uni. It was the best 3 years of my life. When it comes to like making great friends, gaining life skills that because normally it's the first time that you're away from home and living out for yourself. So I loved it for that. But again, it is really expensive now. I know the prices have shot up since I was last there. So there are great options out there as well. There's so many good apprenticeships. And again, what drew me to TV as well, you don't necessarily need a degree or need an apprentice. You can just start applying for runner work, and you don't need any qualifications for that. Ideally, I feel like the best thing to do is get your driving license. That I feel like if you're going to spend your money anywhere, get your driving license as soon as you can, because that really helps in TV, because sometimes you're in really remote locations with early call times. So if I was spending my money anywhere, I'd be spending it on that. But there's like all sorts that you can do. I never had any degree in TV before I started. I had a degree in animal behaviour. And I think sometimes it helps having a different background. I've met a lot of career changes. I've met a lot of ex-army people, just people working from all sorts of different backgrounds. When I was running, I did a runner job once with a lady who was in her 60s, and she'd been an accountant all of her life. She'd just retired, and then thought she wanted to go back to work, and she thought, oh, I'll try being a runner and do a couple ad hoc days in her retirement, which I loved. I thought was amazing. So you can kind of be anything, do anything you want in TV, because everyone's got their own story, which I love.
Where would you start for people who are looking for these jobs? Would sort of networking events be the best place to look for places to start?
There's loads of networking events, and in particular for entry level people as well. I did quite a few, and I think they're really good at speaking to other people who are in the industry and getting a feel of what it's like, but also meeting your peers. I made a few friends who I still speak to now from these networking events, and I'd keep in touch with them, and we would all, like, every time we saw a runner job, we'd be like messaging each other. I met a girl who was she lives in Kent, and anytime I saw a runner job in Kent or that area, I'd send it to her. Whenever she saw one in Manchester, she'd send it to me. So they are good at just getting to know people in the industry. There's a lot of great places, like a lot of different broadcasters like BBC, Channel 4, they'll all do their own production companies. Screen Skills is a really good one. They do quite a few. So it is just good to get your face out there. It is TV and film, it is definitely like who you know when it comes to finding work, and people remembering you. So it's good to get out there and meet people.
Talking of sort of industry, what would you say would be the best piece of advice you've been given while you've been working in industry?
The best piece of advice? I've been given so much good advice. I feel like some advice that I've been given, and it's not necessarily from in the industry, but my gran told me, like, at a very young age, she said, always, ask for what you want. If you need something or if you want something, just ask for it, because the worst someone can say is no. So that's always stuck with me. And I think my advice would be, like, just to be a sponge, and just take in as much as you can while she's starting out, because again, it's getting your face around and learning the job that you want to work in, but also learning what other jobs do. It's really beneficial. So just take in as much as you can.
Last question, which is slightly different, but if you had to remake any film or TV show, but you had to recast it with the cast of the Muppets, which would it be and why?
I feel like a lot of people have grown up with the Muppets. Maybe one of my favourite shows, my go-to when I'm at home, is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I always stick that on the TV whenever I'm home, even if I'm just having it on in the background. So that would be really funny, doing a little parody with them.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Fifth Wall Podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on social media at Fifth Wall Pod, or subscribe wherever you're listening to get the latest episodes directly to your feed. Thanks for listening.